Hi, this is Chris Young, and welcome to Good News on Tap for the third Sunday of Lent. In the 1998 film As Good as It Gets, Jack Nicholson won an Academy Award for his role as a grumpy old man who can't seem to get any fun out of his life whatsoever. It's not until he meets Helen Hunt, who also won the Oscar that year, that his life turns around. His relationship with her makes him want to be a better man. But at one of the darker moments of his journey, he storms out of his psychiatrist's office and he says to the other patients sitting there in the waiting room, "What if this is as good as it gets?" I think there are times in everyone's life when we ask ourselves that kind of a question. Is this all there is to life? Have I accomplished anything? Have I found fulfillment? Have I made any difference? That yearning for something that's missing in our life is like a thirst. And being thirsty is the topic of this week's scripture readings. The 40 days of Lent are patterned after the 40 days that Jesus spent praying in the desert, and also after the 40 years that the Jews spent wandering in the desert. And being in the desert, one of your most urgent needs, of course, is water. A person can go for days or weeks without food, but our need for water, especially in the desert, is the most important thing. When Jesus meets the woman at the well in today's gospel, it's not just any well, it's a very famous well that dated back to the days of Jacob. The fact that Jacob found water there was a key to their continued survival in that place. Then Jesus comes along and talks about a different kind of water that's better than the most famous water in the area. It's a water that doesn't just meet your immediate needs, but it quenches your total thirst for all of eternity. Of course, we realize he's not talking about physical thirst or chemical H2O kind of water. He's talking about a spiritual thirst that's quenched with living water. It's that thirst that's a longing to be fulfilled in our life. That longing that seeks to answer Jack Nicholson's question with a resounding, "No, this is not as good as it gets. It gets better." We want that outcome. We want it to be better. We have a thirst for that. But this better water that quenches our spiritual thirst doesn't come easy. Jesus kind of pulls a fast one on the woman when he says, "Well, just bring your husband and you can have the living water." Sounds simple, right? Well, he knew that she had had several husbands, and the man that she was with wasn't her husband. In her words, he knew all that I had done. Only when we get our own life in order can we have our thirst and our desires for fulfillment completely quenched. And so that's the desert experience. That's what Lent is all about. In the Old Testament reading today, the people were complaining and grumbling because they were thirsty. They wanted God to provide for them, so they grumbled and complained, and of all things even wanted to go back to the slavery of the Pharaoh rather than face the trial of this desert experience. But God provided for them. He led them through the desert. But they had to do the work themselves. That's what Lent is all about. God will lead us through this desert and will quench our thirst in the end. But we've got to bring our husband. Well, not literally bring a husband. The husband, or lack thereof, was just symbolic of the woman's sins. We need to bring before the Lord all that we've done that we should not have done, and all that we have not done that we should have. Our parish, as well as most parishes this season, will be having a reconciliation service, which is an excellent opportunity to take that step and to bring before the Lord everything that is impeding us from quenching our thirst with the living water. We're still in the desert of Lent right now, and it's a hot, dry place, and we're thirsty, but it's not the end of the story. And that's Good News on Tap for the third Sunday of Lent.